All right, fellas. So, last subject of the day. And I have to giggle a little bit on this one because I know what's coming. This subject. But it is the royal family controversy.
I don't think it's a controversy, but I got a lot of information I'm gonna share with everyone today. Same.
Yeah. Yeah.
This might be the longer one.
Right. Meghan Markle and Harry's claims. And so the question, the official question is, well, we actually have three. So I'll just state what they are, but we'll talk on each one of them as we go. So the first one was, were you shocked by Meghan or Harry's allegations of racism in the monarchy? The second one is, do you fully believe in their claims? And then the third one is, are the Queen's orders for an investigation into how the couple was treated legitimate or a PR stunt? So we'll start with the first one. Were you shocked by Meghan or Harry's allegations of racism in the monarchy? And Mr. PAT, I'm gonna throw that to you, sir.
Okay, just bear with me, folks. I'm gonna try not to be too long-winded.
No problem.
But this will be quite a response. So to get right to it, was I shocked by Meghan or Harry's allegations of racism in the monarchy? My answer is no, absolutely not. I was not shocked. I am not surprised. I will say this. If you understand racism, white supremacy, then none of the allegations of racism in the monarchy would surprise you. I think one of the problems of today is that a lot of people do not understand racism, white supremacy. Neely Fuller Jr. said, if you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. I agree with that quote, and I've adopted this view. And I've adopted this view after reading his book. Now, the title is very long-winded, so bear with me on that too. The title is The United Independent Compensatory Code /System/Concept, a compensatory counter-racist code dash a textbook /workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. Okay, so I know, yeah, that's a mouthful right there. That's really the title. But Brother Neely Fuller broke down racism, white supremacy in that book. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, may she rest in peace, she also broke down racism, white supremacy, and she broke it down in her book, The ISIS Papers, and many of her lectures. Neely Fuller stated that the white supremacists control all 9 areas of people activity. Those 9 areas being economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics /people relations, religion, sex, and war /counter war. Now, with all that in mind, this actually goes back to something that I feel needs to be addressed. And we touched on it on this episode. But E-Man, I remember in the last episode, you said that you don't like terms like black and white. And I remember you saying, you said indigenous and European a few times. So what I will say to that is I agree. Overall, I agree with you and Naya's take on race and color and the term black. Really and ideally, we really shouldn't even be using that term. But we are. But we have to understand that we live in a world of white supremacy. The world is controlled by the system of white supremacy. So within that control, color is a construct. it's really just a construct. We know that Black people aren't actually Black. White people aren't actually white. Asians aren't actually yellow. We could keep going down the list. Our skin colors are not those colors. When it's all said and done, there are melanated people and then unmelanated people, or not so melanated people, because to my knowledge, everyone has melanin. Anyway, so back to the term of Black. Black is something that everyone uses, and in this system of racism, the fact of the matter is everyone sees us as Black. It doesn't matter what we want to call ourselves or what label we want to adopt or what our true legal, name. It doesn't, what our status is like. It doesn't, people see us as Black. That's just how people see us as. And I think changing those labels, it won't change the public perception, or it won't get people off the color constructs. This is why I say that going back and forth with labels and denominations and religions or whatever is a waste of time. And it's not going to replace the system of white supremacy with a system of justice. Because I see brothers and sisters out there splitting hairs about who's a Hebrew Israelite, indigenous, Aboriginal, African-American, Negro, African. At the end of the day, we are seen as Black. All of us, we are seen as Black, and we need to just be about Black empowerment. We can worry about the labels when we destroy the system of white supremacy and replace it with a system of justice. But in this current paradigm, we're seen as Black. And once you are non-white, you being Black or brown or whoever, we're in a system where you have to be dominated, and the dominance must be in the hands of those who are white. That's something I've come to learn fairly recently. I think I've always known this, but I'm getting more information, been doing research, just finding out more as I go down the rabbit hole. So going back to Miss Markle, she obviously had no understanding of white supremacy and how it truly functions. I think it's safe to assume that since she's biracial and light-skinned with like more finer features, I guess more non-African features, she really didn't experience a certain level of racism that her darker skinned counterpart might have experienced. Somebody like Meghan Markle, she's somebody who would pass the paper bag test. And for those who don't know about the paper bag test, look it up on Google. But Miss Markle would pass the test. She'd pass with flying colors. So,
I agree.
It's just one of those things where she just didn't understand. I don't think she does, because I watched the interview. I didn't want to, but since we were going to discuss the topic, I figured, let me just, check it out. Because honestly, I really don't give a damn about her and royal family.
I agree.
Like, I just don't give a shit, period. But since it has to do with racism, white supremacy, it's something that we got to just look into a little bit. So just to kind of wrap it up, one of the things that kind of irked me too is that she acknowledged that, first she acknowledged that she was not just marrying Harry, she was marrying the family. So with that, she also admitted to not knowing too much about the royal family. She didn't do any research. And what I would ask is why would she not do any research on who this family is? Why did she think it was okay to operate in ignorance? I think it would have behooved her to look up who these people are. I mean, you do a quick Google search and you can see that the royal family, and you can see that they had an involvement with the African slave trade. The British were major players in the slave trade. The Brits, that's what I'm gonna call them, the Brits.
Yeah, call them Brits.
Yeah, they colonized the Caribbean, among other places all over the world, Guyana being one of them. My family is from there. Shout out to Guyana. And you know, they are part of the system of white supremacy. Also, Prince Harry at the age of 20 was wearing a Nazi costume at a party. So there's a photo that was going around online with him in this Nazi costume. And you can see one guy in it with the KKK costume and another guy in blackface. So all this, it just comes back to my question of why would Meghan not look into the history of the royal family?
Because she was selected. That's what I
Yeah, we could say that. But I mean, I think one of the problems is like, man.
Because I don't even want to cut you off, Pete, because this is the one I've been dying to get my hands on today.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. I promise. I know this is a little long with it, but I'm gonna wrap it up.
No, you good.
So one of the problems is her, and now I'm gonna kind of pivot a little bit, but I think one of the problems is her and many other women out there have bought into this idea of a fairy tale and meeting their Prince Charming. Now, when it comes to Black women specifically, the ones who bought into the fairy tale idea via Disney movies or whatever else.
Disney movies.
Disney movies, of course. I think it's emblematic of white saviorism and some type of Stockholm syndrome. Meghan Markle, from a place of ignorance, bought into that whole idea. You know, I believe she did, and she was coming from a place of ignorance, and and she's now seemingly shocked about all the racism, and she's understandably distraught over what she experienced. So just wrapping it up, no, I was not shocked. And I believe that her and everyone else out there really shouldn't be shocked. But if you don't understand the levels of racism, white supremacy, yeah, some people will be shocked. Me personally, I'm just not shocked. So that's that.
So just
all right, Eman, to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Night Angel. But just even, you know, just to go back what PAT was saying, but I want you to really think about, you know, The Princess and the Frog. Because I remember when that Disney movie came out, you know, and, you know, and before I even get to it, but you know how basically Cinderella was out, you know, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You got Beauty and the Beast, you know. You know, you got Rapunzel. So you got all these other princesses. So it took, you know, everyone to say like, oh, we need a Black princess, and look what happened, you know. I would say 2 decades down the road, we got Princess and the Frog. And you know what's so funny? The movie was so based on Louisiana, you know, because Louisiana is by far the most powerful place towards, you know, Black culture in the world, by far. There's so much Black energy around Louisiana. It's crazy. So that's why they based that movie on that, you know. And it's funny how, you know, that they used the character, you know, in that movie to the princess herself, you know, to be poor and rigid and whatnot, you know. So it just goes on to the sense of, you know, of putting a Band-Aid onto that situation. Now, coming to Meghan, Miss Markle and whatnot, hell nah, I am not shocked about, you know, that situation. But to even, you know, when you was talking about how she didn't know about her, you know, her own whites, you know, it was like, you know, racism, you know, if I'm not too sure anybody remember that Dola Cat situation where she was saying some pretty, you know, derogatory things, you know, I think on Instagram, I don't know
allegedly.
Where. Allegedly.
You gotta say allegedly.
I forgot.
Yep,
allegedly, you know, so I don't get cancel culture by, you know, YouTube and everybody. But, you know, a lot of, you know, things when I say, and, you know, allegedly she said basically like, you know, that, you know, I didn't know if I saw racism, you know, I see myself as a white woman knowing she's biracial, you know. So I call that sometimes that, you know, that biracial syndrome, you know. not because I'm picking on biracial women, because women are all beautiful, but to because I have a black parent or white parent, now you get to pick and choose sides. It's not about picking and choosing sides. Your environment is what creates you. So so to sit here and think I'm in an environment that's much more safe, which I think Meghan was, but I feel like she was selected into that family. That's where we're at with that. And it goes on to the same allegedly Dola Cat situation. But when you look at the British slave trade, or the Brits and whatnot, when they got into the slave trade, they got in it with the Arabs who started the huge slave trade, and they basically got the Spaniards involved. The Spaniards basically got the British involved. But the thing what makes it much worse, when the Arabs started everything, the Spaniards and the Brits took it upon themselves and to inbreed themselves with, their African culture. So that's why you can go to Great Britain and where you can see, very dark skinned, women who have a British or Brit accent per se, That's where you see a lot of, biracials, living in Great Britain because, they basically went, to Africa and they basically stole, and I don't want to say allegedly for that one because that is on records with a lot of history behind it. All right. And I tell everyone, please do your research because I've been doing my research a whole lot on the slave trade because this has been an interesting topic that I've been focusing on for years. When I mean years, we're talking about at least a good 10 years, and to sit here to be shocked about a situation knowing what that family is, because when everyone talks even about like religion, it's always a big fight, but yet there's always in the condemnations of like horrible supremacy behind it, because the thing about when I tell people, when you hear the word white supremacy, Dick Gregory told it to me best. White is supreme. Why? Because white means pure and valiant. Once you hear the word pure, it means, of essence, And when something is essence, it means basically, it gets no better than that, It's the best of the best. And that's what they've been using to create the system that's going on right now, And to sit here to, to being shocked about what she said, I would tell everyone like this: we are now in 2021. There's been at least about, I would say, well over 7 to 10,000 of years, that's going on towards history, And if you guys haven't picked up a history book, I think it's time for you guys to start picking up one because
on Google something
or something because something. to anybody to be enraged about what's going on with that situation, you must lost your goddamn mind. I'll tell you that right now. E-Man is talking crazy right now, but I need everyone to listen. But it just gets more sickening and sickening and everything, because basically I feel like this is a narrative she's going through just to make it look safe and whatnot, so that they don't expose the actual truth about what these sick people have done years and years and years,
Gotcha. Okay. Well, remember, we're going to go on to the other 2 questions as well. So,
I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. No worries. I just want you to know, so you want to speak on that again. For the particular question. Oh, were you done with the first one, E-Man? Where you shocked?
I'm definitely done.
Okay.
I'm
okay.
not even shocked, but yeah, I'm so sorry, Angel.
No,
it's just this is a passionate.
No, I knew this subject would be a passionate one for us. I appreciate that. Was I shocked by Meghan's or Harry's allegations of racism in the monarchy? Absolutely not. like not at all. If you think about the principle of royalty and how these are human beings who in 2021 still feel that their blood is somehow more prevalent than any others, that alone is preposterous. I mean, they're not even the ruling party of that country anymore. They have parliament. They've had parliament for hundreds and hundreds of years, and their parliament and their prime ministers make the decisions about the country. They reference the monarchy, but they are not the sole deciders. If you think about the fact that the monarchy still even exists to the level that it does in England, it's preposterous. So am I shocked by allegations of racism? Absolutely not. Because anyone who can still even consider themselves to be, more important than other human beings because of their bloodline, especially when we're talking about a party that is no longer in rule. It's not even like in some nations in other countries in Africa, etc., where the king is still in rule and makes the decisions over, say, a prime minister or senate or parliament or something. That's not even the way that it works in England anymore. So why would I be shocked by racism? Not shocked at all by their claims of racism, because any group of people who can still think that way, and I understand why, right? It's been generations and generations and generations of it, but it doesn't make it any less preposterous. They know better, right? They just choose not to accept better because it behooves them to continue this preposterous standing of being somehow at a higher level or more prevalent than any other English person. Okay.
White supremacy.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's, that's really all I have to say about that first question, because I mean, for me, it's that simple. I'm absolutely not shocked. I can't see how anyone was shocked. When you look at Princess Diana and just how rebellious she was against the monarchy and how that situation was handled, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole there, because officially Princess Diana died in a car accident. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But if you look at everything that happened leading up to her death and how she rebelled against the supremacy of the monarchy, and how she rebelled against just the notion that somehow that group of people meant more to the world than their constituents and etc. Racism, oh no, I never saw it coming. That's preposterous. Of course I saw it coming. Of course I'm not shocked by it. So that's my simple answer to question number one.
Word with white supremacy, white is supreme. Just you hear the word white and the word supreme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So question number one, that's basically my wrap up on that. Moving on to question number two. Do you fully believe their claims? So Pat, this comes back around to you. And what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are I do fully believe the claims, and this kind of goes into everything I stated in my previous answer. So as I mentioned before about the history, when we look at the history, that right there would reveal the truth behind the claims. So yes, I definitely believe the claims that are out there. Even when we look at what we've seen and heard in regards to Meghan Markle and what basically what happened out there in the UK and the press and how they was just trashing her. I mean, there were times, they said all kinds of crazy shit about her, but she was compared to a monkey at one point. Same thing that happened here in America with Michelle Obama. Because remember, with Michelle Obama, she was called a ape with heels. Mm-hmm. So this is something that they do with Black women, with our melanated women. That's what they do. They're going to compare them to a monkey. So that's what they did with Meghan. Also, I remember it in the interview. she spoke about her baby, and there was talk of the baby's skin color and it possibly being dark. That was something that was mentioned. I mean, I don't think it was so much about Archie's skin color, the baby Archie. I honestly don't even think it was so much about the skin color. I think it was just more so, how dare this baby even have some black in him? Like, how dare he have a little bit of black of him in him, even if it's like, 0.1%. The problem is he has black inside of him. He's mixed with black. Because when you look at the baby, he's not dark skinned. He's white, looks like a little white boy, but that, of course, that came up, his skin color. Why? Because Meghan is biracial. So that came up. Also, I remember them speaking about the media and how they praised Kate Middleton for rubbing her pregnant belly and eating an avocado, while they demonized Meghan for doing the same exact things. So that right there is just like, that right there already tells you. So for the white woman, her rubbing her pregnant belly and eating an avocado, those are good things. Those are good. But Meghan Markle rubbing her pregnant belly and eating an avocado, those were bad things.
It's the same thing I keep saying.
So this goes back to the system of white supremacy and what it does. It takes something done by a white person and makes it into a good thing, while making it bad if a black person does the same exact thing. When it comes to race, there's a dichotomy at work. There's a duality. There's a yin and a yang. Whatever is white is good, and as E-Man has stated, white is seen as pure, and whatever is black is bad. So whatever is white is good, and whatever is black is evil. This is basically how twisted and diabolical the system of white supremacy is. I mean, we've seen so many times of a white person who commits a crime and they're innocent until proven guilty. They're even given a sob story narrative, while a black person who committed the same crime is guilty until proven innocent, and they're written off as a thug. So the claims that were made, I believe it, just based on all of that, all of it. I fully believe the claims out there. I believe it.
All right, thank you, sir. And E-Man, what say you for question number 2, which is, do you fully believe their claims?
I mean, I've already said what I had to say, and like I've already stated and learned from the great Gregory. No matter what, the way how you taught me what white supremacy was basically white is supreme. Because you hear the word white and you hear the word supreme, and as you hear those words and whatnot, you don't want to change anything from it. So this is the reason why when we try to talk about all these claims and all these things, and whatnot, we it's never going to change. It's never going to change. So do I feel like all these claims, are true? Like, yes, of course. It's not. I don't think anything what has happened is going to change anything. Just like PAT said, that Kate Middleton was rubbing her belly and was eating avocado. So based upon the system we're in, Kate Middleton considers, or many people consider her as white. So she's seen as pure. This seems like that is good, what she's doing,
Just to interject real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but just to interject real quick with Kate Middleton, I believe her rubbing her belly and the eating of the avocado, those are two separate things.
So it was two separate things.
Right, it was two separate incidents, but each of those times she was praised for it. She was praised for rubbing her belly, her pregnant belly, and she was praised for eating a piece of avocado or something along those lines. But yeah, I believe it was two separate incidents. But go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, PAT, for the clarification.
Yeah,
because I don't try to keep up with all these silly things, that goes on every single day. But if those are just two different incidents and they're seen as pure, so anything that Meghan is like, anything she's done, or anything she does, it seems basically because they're labeling her as since she's biracial. Anybody who's biracial is basically considered as black, and basically she's seen as being wrong, dirty, evil. So nothing is not going to change. We can go back and forth about the whole situation, but nothing's not going to change. Like the way how this story came out, when I first saw it, I actually laughed, and it's because there's more and more stories like this that goes on, and people get shocked about the situation. And like how I've already stated before, I'm like, it is 2021. If we're not realizing that we're all living in a melting pot, that we're all different people, then like, is it going to take like 7 years down the line to figure this out? Like, I feel like everyone is, they're in their own mind and they can't escape, cannot even escape, I wouldn't say the mental aspect, but the psychological aspect. I think that's what's driving everyone, the whole insanity that's coming in,
in the Matrix.
And that's why we're having not these issues, not these problems,
Yeah.
We're just having all of these constructs, because we're not starting issues, we're not starting problems, we're starting issues, problems, and situations all at the same time, right. And this is and these are why these stories come out when they come out,
True.
So we as a people just need to start working on being more righteous, and we just gotta all leave the system. I'm so speechless right now. Not you can take it. You can take it.
Sure. No problem. No problem. Understandable, sir. So to the question of do I fully believe their claims? Nope. And I'm gonna tell you why. It's not that I don't believe that they experienced some form of racism. Of course they did. But I feel like what they actually said was tailored to fit an appropriate amount of details to cause a stir, but wasn't completely truthful. In other words, they didn't go out there and let it all hang out. They didn't go out there and say, the Queen's advisors asked me how black did I approximate my son's skin was going to be. They didn't go out there and say, hey, this person and that person and this person said to me, we have concerns that Archie's skin is going to be a little too brown skin for us, and etc. Now, am I saying that that's what actually happened? No, I'm not even saying that's what actually happened. But what I watched that interview, and I think one of you two may have mentioned this earlier, but I'm not exactly sure. When I watched that interview, what I saw were two people who were only partially separated from this environment that they found to be just ridiculous and could no longer be a part of, and to a certain extent was trying to protect. Because I feel like, and I understand why, right? Because at the end of the day, Harry mentioned that he hasn't actually talked to his brother, I believe. I believe he said that. And from what I understand of that family, Harry and the brother are close, William. So I get the fact that to a certain extent, Harry wants to protect his brother, if no one else, and what his brother could face. But So in other words, what I'm trying to say is, did I listen to that interview and say, oh my goodness, this is 100% just the rawest truth that they could have spilled? No. No, they said a high level of shit that people should have already figured was going to happen amongst that royal family. I just feel like it was watered down. And
Excellent term.
That it should have gone up there and totally bashed them. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, it's a little, I'm going to say, distrusting, for lack of a better term, when you're saying, listen to me, I went through this, I experienced this, it damaged me. That is the reason why we had to leave. And then someone says, well, what damaged you? And you say, well, they were mean to me. Motherfucker, how?
Right, that's vague. That's too vague.
Like, people can be you in a million different ways. What are you not saying? Especially when you're out here on Oprah, okay? Where you have the biggest forum available to you. And why are you up here being so timid? At the same time, you're making claims that you were so distraught that you thought about harming yourself. And let me throw a little disclaimer out here. Mental health is a serious thing, Black, white, Spanish, or otherwise. We are in absolutely no way talking against someone's mental health and how it should be handled. But for this particular situation, my thoughts are, you use the biggest forum available to you to go on national TV and say, these people treated me badly to the point I didn't know if I wanted to be here anymore. But then you have not actually provided any appropriate details as to why you felt that way. It just felt a little, to me, to be rehearse. In fact, I'm going to take that back.
Say rehearse. Say rehearse. Say rehearse. Say rehearse. Say.
It felt a lot rehearsed. Not a little, but a lot. And so, to question 2, do I fully believe their claims? Hell no. They went up there and said the minimum they can say to cause some shock without actually going too far into disrespecting, quote unquote, the monarch.
So just to put, because I didn't watch the interview, so I did see some things with Oprah. So Oprah conducted the interview.
Mm-hmm. It was Oprah.
Yeah, Oprah conducted it.
Mm-hmm. So a hoe conducted another interview with a silly goose. Okay.
Oh Lord.
We'll put another disclaimer out there. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was, the interview was with Oprah. And I mean, I know Oprah doesn't have her show anymore, but she's still fucking Oprah. Someone does an interview with her, it's going to go far. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and just to add on to what you said, so I can see what you're saying as far as not fully believing the claims or not taking it in fully. What I would say is the claims, the claims are the claims, as we all know. Mm-hmm. They held back. It's obvious that they held back.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
So I believe it. We all believe it. The issue comes in where it's watered down, as you said. Mm-hmm. And Oprah asks questions, and Megan's she's not gonna, but she gave these softball answers. Mm-hmm. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at that, because these people are not gonna go into any detail. Mm-hmm. They're just not. We all have to remember that at the end of the day, this is still part of the mainstream. It's in the media, it's on TV. It still had to be put out in a way where it wasn't too offensive to the public out there. Mm-hmm. It still had to fit within the PC culture of today. So yeah, Meghan is gonna say, yeah, I was dealing with racism. But, well, what kind of racism? Well, I don't want to give too many details. Like, she's just not going to do it. Like, they're just not going to.
Which is bullshit. Because
right,
you
it's like, all right, come on, you
like that and not speak on it.
Pretty much, yeah, she bullshit. And you're like, you what racism? Bullshit, what? Like, tell us what happened.
Right. You can't make a
Bullshit.
claim. That's like, someone saying they were raped and then someone asking them for the details and them saying they're not going to give the details. And again, let me throw a disclaimer out here. Again, I am not in any way shaming rape victims. Please do not let that come off as my intent for the comparison. The point is, it is a serious allegation. A serious allegation. So to make a serious allegations of such, but to be as just contrite, it was almost like, I've never, for me, it was so rehearsed that it was almost not quite believable. Because when someone has, not saying that I don't, because as you mentioned, we all know racism occurs amongst the monarch. At least I feel like most of us feel that way. But when someone is saying something so emotional, talking about a subject that hurt them so strongly, as to the point where she felt like she wanted to harm herself. There was no emotion behind it from my viewpoint. There were no tears. There was none of that. And I'm not saying it didn't occur. I'm saying for someone to get to that point, especially because I think she mentioned she went through a lot of this while pregnant. I think about just some cramps that I experienced while I was pregnant and I want to cry. And I know that everyone is different. It just, the interview did not seem like she was genuinely giving all the appropriate information that was needed to really and fully and truly understand her claims. That's what I'm trying.
This is the reason why I don't watch many silly interviews.
Me too.
This is the reason. This like, just even when we got to question number 2, and I didn't even watch the interview. Like, I wasn't gonna waste my time with that. And I tell people the reason why is, I wouldn't, because if I would not, and just to put everything out there, that towards, like, we don't, like, towards, like, people who've been raped, because I know people has been raped and I know people has been molested and everything like that. I know people, you know what I'm saying? Because I can put out any information about, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm also a victim, you know what I'm saying, of being molested. So I know what it feels like.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Sorry to hear that. Thank you. So I know what that feels like. So when I tell people, when I see people play this role, like this whole, like, even when we look at the Me Too movement thing, like when people play this role because something that you think has happened to you, and getting people to fall into something that might not be even true, it hurts a lot, because there are people who are suffering from that type of pain. All right. A lot, but I'm just putting it out there so no one gets this crazy ordeal that we've been talking crazy. All right. So, but we can continue the third question.
Gotcha. All right. And yes, sir, the third question and the final one that I want to throw out here is, are the Queen's orders for an investigation into how the couple was treated legitimate, or is it a PR stunt? So, Mr. PAT, what say you on that?
It's a PR stunt.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Agreed.
I'm gonna just say flat out. I'm not even gonna be on the fence with this one. It's a PR stunt. At the end of the day, they are going to, and I'm putting up the air quotes, do an investigation, because there was a big charge that was made, which is racism. So of course, in order to not look racist, in order to appear to not be racist, you would have to do an investigation. So they will most likely do some type of investigation, but overall, it is a PR stunt. Let's just be real. It's a PR stunt. They wouldn't feel the need to do an investigation if none of this had even really came up, or been made into a big deal. If a lot of this information, this watered down information, because we didn't really get like a lot of information, but if some of this stuff didn't really get out there, if there was no big Oprah interview, if it wasn't made into this big thing, they wouldn't do no fucking investigation. There would be no investigation.
I agree.
But since this thing is out there and it's the talk in the Matrix right now, in order to clean up their image, in order to do a little cleanup, a little damage control, they are going to do an investigation. And to wrap up my answer, this also goes back to what Brother Neely Fuller said in regards to the system of white supremacy. The system of white supremacy has to control both sides of the argument. So racism is one side of it. Obviously, everybody talks about racism. When we hear about racism, at this point, it's not even a big controversial subject matter because it's talked about 24/7, 365. We hear about racism all the time. We hear it in the media. We hear it all the time. So, of course, racism being one side of the coin, the other side of the coin, the other side of the argument is to make yourself, and I'm talking about the white supremacists, what I'm saying, make yourself, themselves, or whoever, they have to make themselves look as unracist as possible. So in order to do that, they have to investigate. They have to act like they actually care. So it's a PR stunt, flat out. It's a PR stunt.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, E-Man, before I wrap it up?
So we all know this is a PR stunt, and and when you look, and I don't want to keep saying Hollywood, but when you look at Hollywood, there's certain people they do interviews with, and Oprah is that. I'm not a big fan of Oprah. I've never, I've never been a big fan of Oprah. That's why I call her, what I do call her and whatnot. But it, to me, it just looks like a whole funny Looney Tunes commercial or segment. We like, you get Oprah, who's people seen as the big person to interview the interviewer and whatnot, because that's how her show was based off. Then you just get Meghan Markle just coming in there, and basically trying to make this thing look and feel believable, knowing it's a bunch of BS bullshit, if you want to call it. But this is where we're at. Like, it seems like we everyone wants these sob stories. We want to buy into like fake sob stories, and this is it. So like I said, I'm not going to take on what I just said. It's basically a hoe having an interview with a mongoose. So I'm not going to change that. It's this is some silly stuff, and if even an investigation happened, and I'm probably going to try to find if it even goes to court or wherever it think it's going to go at, which I think it's going nowhere. I'm going to really look into this, because I want to know if the thing is real, which I already know it's not. But they need to stop playing with people's emotions, and they think it's the game. It just needs to stop. It just needs to stop. Like we talk, and I just want to end on this point, but we talk about how we want a better society for children. We talk about how we want a better society for us. My question is, do we really want it? That's been the burning question I have. We have all these, not say crazy arguments, but silly disagreements on silly things that people won't even have a conversation with someone with, and it's just fucking silly, And this is what I feel like why we're at with it, and this is why this situation happened, And their PR stunt, it's not going far, but enjoy your whatever fame you had that lasted so long. So I'm just ending it there. So now, Angel, it's all on you.
Sure. Yeah. So just want to start by saying again, great discussion here, fellas. I think we've done a great job of, elaborating on our points. And again, just want to throw that out there because it was on my mind. Definitely the reference that I made to earlier regarding, how serious these allegations are and comparing it to rape. Again, definitely not intending to imply anything negative towards victims of rape or racism. Both are serious allegations, and I want to make that clear. Unfortunately, I myself have been a victim of both. But to wrap this up, are the Queen's orders for an investigation into how the couple was treated legitimate or a PR stunt? As both of you have eloquently put it, it's totally a PR stunt. I don't think if this interview had have not happened with Oprah, so if Harry and Meghan hadn't done this interview with Oprah, would the Queen or the monarchy have done an investigation into why they decided to leave? Absolutely not. I don't think they really gave a shit. The way that it looked to them was that Harry was turning his back on his family, right? And I think that because of the allegations that were made, they had to do some kind of damage control. It's that simple. It's a complete ploy of damage control. They have to be seen as concerned because of today's time. If this was 1960, we wouldn't hear anything about an investigation, to be honest, in my opinion. I don't think that they would care. But because of how the world has progressed and because of the importance of keeping a certain light, I don't believe that there is legitimate concern about what Meghan experienced and what Meghan or Harry experienced. And, just to wrap up the entire, I'm going to say debacle, for lack of a better term. Overall, I agree with you, gentlemen, that I really don't care what's going on with the royal family, because the entire existence of the royal family is preposterous to me. Where it's 2021, okay? Your land hasn't been ruled by a monarchy in hundreds of years, or however long you've had parliament and the prime minister. Okay, I don't even know. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I don't know. But what I do know is that to continue to perpetuate royal blood is superior to this or to that or to these people, or it's so outrageous that I put nothing past that group. Anyone who can still think that way in today's time, I put nothing past them. Do I wish that Meghan had been a little forthcoming, not because I want the juicy gossip details, but because I think it would have helped bring clarity where it is necessary, because I think it would have prevented that family, the royal family, from being able to so easily cover up their abhorrent behavior. I would have appreciated her being a little more forthcoming. However, at the end of the day, I didn't expect it. What we got is what I expected. The minimal, information to provide an answer to why they disassociated themselves from the family, but nothing that was critical enough to really put them under the fire they deserve to be under. So with that said, because of all of that, yes, the Queen is doing what is required to be done from a public view standpoint in order for the public to even be a little bit okay with what happened, when really no one should be okay with what happened. Right. So with that said, fellas, unless there is anything else, this subject or another that we want to speak on before we wrap things up, I think this was a great session. Definitely covered some tough conversations, and I think we made some excellent points.
I agree.
Yeah, we did.
I agree. Oh, I ain't got nothing else to say. I'm just saying we out now. So
yes.
to all our listeners, just make sure You know, make sure that you guys follow PAT, follow all his music. All right. Other than that, we out.
Yes, yes.
Out ya.
PAT, go ahead and give him that information, sir.
Okay, so you can go on thepatchannel.com. All my social media handles are on there. Just go on thepatchannel.com. If you want to listen to my music, you want to read articles, I have a ton of stuff. You want to get some creative services in terms of graphic design, web design, I got it. I got you. Go to thepatchannel.com and you will be exposed to all that I have to offer creatively.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And for our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We do this for you. Please, if you have not yet, go on to our YouTube channel and subscribe.
Yes.
Not only is it a way for you to have direct access to our content, but we also like to leave the links and etc. to things that we've discussed. All of that will be available on our YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook page. Gentlemen, thank you for a great session, and to all our listeners,
thank you.
peace.
Peace.